This is the Zeblaze Stratos 2 Lite. It's a good-looking smartwatch with built-in GPS and claims up to 25 days battery life. Even though this is a budget watch and it was priced at only $26 when I bought it, it comes in a nice-looking package with some specifications around the back. Inside we find everything we need. The watch case is nicely presented on top, and the accessories are packed in separate plastic bags. There's even a user manual in English with pictures. It comes with one set of rubber bands in black color, and these do have pins for easy replacement. The charger is a small magnetic base with two connectors and a standard USB connector on the other end. The watch case itself weighs about 32 grams without the bands and 51.5 grams with them on. It's made of plastic, but the bezel around it is made of zinc metal. The matte finish gives a slight gloss in the light, which looks quite good in my opinion. There are two multifunction buttons on the side, but more about them a bit later. On the back we have the sensors and the connectors for charging. We have 24-hour heart rate monitoring on this, and it can measure blood oxygen. As said earlier, the bands have pins that make it very easy to put them on and take them off. They should fit most wrist sizes, as there's a lot of holes for adjustment, and the two retainers on the other side should prevent the bands from coming loose. When the watch is powered on for the first time, it lets us choose a language and presents us with a QR code for installing the app. I recommend that you always get the app from Google Play or the App Store, as we never really know what's in any downloaded app from the web. The Zeblaze Stratos 2 Lite uses the Zeblaze Fit app, which is easy to set up and use, but more about the app later. Charging the watch takes about 1.5 hours and is done by this little base. It looks like one of those chargers where you have to push the watch in place, but it's really just laying on top and held in place by a magnet. The Zeblaze Stratos 2 Lite is a comfortable watch to wear, and it looks quite nice. It doesn't weigh much, so I'm not getting the quality feel from the weight. It's made of plastic, so it doesn't feel all that expensive, but I think it still looks more expensive than it is. The only small problem I have with the bands is the retainer at the end. As you can see, the band has a little stopper at the end, but it doesn't do anything at all. So I sometimes notice the band coming out and having to put the retainer back in place. It's a small thing, but it's a thing. The band size is 22 mm and they are easy to replace, so maybe there are better bands for it out there. On the side we have two silver buttons. With the bottom one we can turn on and off the display. The top one also turns on the display, but if we push it again we get a menu with all the so-called apps. By holding the top button, we get options to reboot, power off, and reset the watch. By holding the bottom button, we quickly get access to starting a new activity. When it comes to watch faces, we have a good selection, but we can have only 4 of them on the watch at the same time. Hold on the display to swap between them, and we can choose between some digital and analog faces. This is the one that comes pre-installed as standard. Even though it has sections for heart rate, steps, weather, and so on, it's not possible to tap any of them to get into the functions. So the watch faces are static in a way that we can't interact with them in any way. The menu system works the same way as most watches, and swiping down we find the toggles. Here we have a few options, like vibration intensity. We have 3 levels to choose from, but I recommend keeping it at 3, as it's not very powerful anyway. For the display brightness, we have 5 levels, and even though it's not extremely bright, it's enough for daylight. By the way, this is a 1.32-inch IPS display with a resolution of 360 by 360 pixels. It's also possible to lock the screen to prevent any accidental touches. And to unlock it, we must hold the button for a few seconds. We have a toggle for the Do Not Disturb mode, which will stop the notifications. If the battery gets low, we can turn on the battery saving mode, which will stop all notifications and set the brightness to the lowest possible level. And at last, we have the settings. The first three options in the settings are a repetition of what we already saw, like watch faces, brightness, and vibration intensity. In auto lock, we can turn on and off the raise to wake function and choose how long the display should stay on before automatically switching off. System settings let us reboot, power off, and reset the watch. And here's a QR code for the Zeblaze Fit app. Below the toggles we have a small icon showing if the watch is connected to the phone or not. In the middle we have a battery status, and on the right side is a battery indicator. Swiping up we get notifications like messages and so on. Swiping to the left we have a quick access to heart rate monitoring, which will automatically start after a couple seconds. Here's also SpO2 measuring, which will also start if you just wait a bit. Sleep monitoring, weather, music player, and today's activity summary. Swiping to the right we get the same options, just in opposite order, and I don't think it's possible to customize any of these options, so they are fixed the way you see them here. To access the main menu we have to push the top right button, and the first option is Activities. Here's a good selection with everything from running, walking, cycling, basketball, tennis, trail running, sailing, some combat sports, and so on. So most people would find something here. When starting an activity, we first get the choice to set a goal, like a set time, distance, and calories. Or we can just start it without any goals. Although the display looks nice during activities, it's not all that informative. On the main page we can see the heart rate, current time, time spent, distance, and calories. One nice thing is that we can control music during the activity. Around the edge of the watch is an indicator for intensity with a little arrow showing the current level. Next we find the history of completed activities. And even though we can see some information in here, there's no map and the information is quite limited. We can see the time and date of the activity, time spent, distance, calories, average speed, max speed, average pace, and some heart rate information. Stats is today's activity data, where we can see how many calories, steps, and standing we have so far today. Heart rate is the same function as we saw when sliding to the left from the main display. Here's a graph of today's measurements, and it will automatically start a new measurement if you wait a couple seconds. Blood oxygen is only for starting new measurements, so it doesn't show any history. Sleep measuring is quite accurate, but it struggles a bit with awake times during the night. I know I had a few nights while testing this watch, but it almost never showed up in the result. It only shows last night's result, so to see other days you have to check the app. News is the same notification page as we saw earlier. Weather information on this watch is nice, as it shows temperature, wind, UV, and humidity. It also shows a simple forecast for the next 4 days. We have a compass for navigation. We can control the music from the watch, but it's only a remote, so it's not possible to upload music directly to it. At the top we can see the song's name, and we have the usual controls, like play, pause, skipping forward and backwards, volume up and down. For those who need to time their laps, the stopwatch is a nice feature. Each lap is numbered, and the time can be paused. But the big weakness here is that it cannot run in the background. So if you need to do anything else while the time is going, you have to stop it completely. There's also countdown timers with some presets, and it can be set manually by pressing the plus button. The watch doesn't have a speaker, so when the time is up, it will only vibrate. Again, this function will not run in the background, so if you close the timer, it will be cancelled, and it will do so without giving any warning about it first. Find phone will start a sound on your phone, but this will of course only work if it's nearby and connected by Bluetooth. The last one is settings, which is the exact same menu as we already saw in the toggles area. I guess they repeat some of the options to make the menu look bigger. If you use notifications for messages a lot, you'll probably be a bit disappointed with this watch. Here I have prepared a message that's not very long, but it has some text and smileys. On the watch it first shows up on the screen, and if I open the notification list, we can see it here as well. But opening it doesn't show the whole message. It's actually quite short. So most of the time you'll have to go to the phone to read messages. When receiving a phone call, the only option we get on the watch is to reject the call. Pushing any of the two physical buttons on the side will also reject the call. Let's move over to the app. For the Zeblaze Stratos 2 Lite, we have an app called Zeblaze Fit. It's a nice looking app, and at the top we can see the connected watch and its battery status. The activity status so far today, with some nice round graphs. Further down we can see the status for each category, like steps, distance, and so on. We can of course tap them and get a more detailed view of the data, again with some graphs and totals. And at the bottom is yesterday's data, so we can quickly compare these 2 days. Switching to a different day is quick, but it's not possible to quickly swipe between them, so we have to open this calendar every time or use the date slider on top. One slightly annoying thing is that there's no indicator showing which dates we have completed an activity, so you'll have to guess and click around the different dates to find them. Let's have a look at what a completed activity looks like in the app. The first page shows us a nice map with some basic information below it. In the graph section we get only 2 graphs, and in this cycling activity we get heart rate and calories burnt. In the details section we get some more info, but really not much details, other than heart rate zones. Let's open an outdoor walking activity and see if there's any more info there. We get a map with some basics below it, graphs for pace and stride frequency, and in details we get a little bit more. I don't know what you think, but in my opinion the data we get is very limited and not very good for a watch with a built-in GPS. For sleep tracking we get a nice graph with the results below it. It shows quite accurately when I fell asleep and when I woke up, but it didn't do all that well with the awake time. Sometimes it didn't register at all, and sometimes it said I was awake for half an hour in the middle of the night, which is not correct. The watch can also measure blood oxygen, and the results are presented in a graph where we can tap the little dots to get the exact number. Below we have the maximum, minimum, and average results for the day. If you like changing watch faces, you'll be happy to know this app has a good selection of them. In the My Dials section, we have the dials that are already installed on the watch, but note the 3 dials on top here, as they are fixed, which means you cannot replace them with other dials. They will always be on the watch, and you can only install 1 dial yourself. So every time we install a new dial, it will replace the one at the bottom. In the online dial section, we have a nice selection all sorted by category. There's a lot to choose from here, and I'm very happy with all the choices. Sometimes I want a simple analog dial, and other times a digital one that shows more information. I think most people will find a nice watch face here. I'm only a bit disappointed that it's not possible to have multiple dials installed at the same time. For notifications, we can choose what type we want to receive on the watch, including calls, messages, and third-party apps. I use my watches as alarms in the morning, so one thing to note on the Zeblaze Stratos 2 Lite is that the alarm must be set in the app on the phone. It's not possible to set or change alarms directly on the watch. It's also possible to set sedentary alerts in a time range. The same can be done with drink water alerts, and we can set medication reminders. Continuous heart rate monitoring can be switched on or off, and we can set an alert for high heart rate. For weather, we only get options to turn it on or off, and which city it should show. Here's also an option to use the watch as a remote to take pictures with the phone's camera. It works by shaking the watch a bit, and it will start a timer before taking the picture. When it comes to battery life, Zeblaze says the 300 mAh battery should last up to 25 days with typical use, or up to 15 days with heavy use. I don't know what they mean by typical use, but I did a couple tests on my own, and here are the results. In the first test, I used the GPS a few times. As you can see, here are 3 separate activities of outdoor walking. One at about 41 minutes, one at 4 minutes, and the last one was 42 minutes. So a total of 87 minutes or 1 hour and 27 minutes. During the test, all the standard settings are left on, like continuous heart rate monitoring and sleep monitoring. And the results for battery life was 7 days until it was completely empty. In the second test, I also left the HR and sleep monitoring on, but I didn't start any activities. So the GPS wasn't used at all, and the result was 9.5 days to be exact. The results aren't terrible compared to some watches, but since they claim 15 to 25 days, and I'm not even able to get 10 days without any activities at all, the results compared to their claim are not good in my opinion. If you have this watch and get better battery results, please let me know in the comments. Even though it falls a bit short here and there, I kinda like the Zeblaze Stratos 2 Lite. It's a good looking watch with decent battery life, built-in GPS and a good price. It's also 5 ATM water resistant, so I did use it in the shower every day while testing it, and I've had no problems after. So overall the watch is okay for the price. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and click that bell for more. Have a nice day, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.